What's up, everybody? How are you doing today? Double Daddy here from TokenPathways.com. Thanks for joining us today. Hope you like and subscribe this video wherever you're seeing it. Helps you find us easier, helps us be seen by a few more folks, and we hope that's the case every day that we reach a few more folks. So, today we're going to have a quick look at these not fantastic arrows down in the crypto world. We did have some geopolitical unrest yesterday, however, and this is what I like to call the paper hands exchange. So those in the know are using their power to buy in on this stuff today. And look at these double-digit losses. I mean, I'll buy today. If I see a double-digit loss, that's probably a sign to get in. Avalanche at under $20. Sui at 3. Like, these prices, I think I know what I'm doing after this video. Anyways, let's jump into it. We have pension funds buying Bitcoin. I'm not surprised here. Of course, Bitcoin means be your own bank, but we've got waves of institutional adoption, according to this article, even traditionally conservative players. And it carries on to go from, we've got El Salvador's Bitcoin experiment and the new pension funds in the United States. However, we've got the state of Wisconsin pension fund. It has adopted Bitcoin through investment in spot Bitcoin ETFs. An unnamed UK pension scheme has made a 3% allocation to Bitcoin, working with Cartwright. The state of Michigan retirement system has made a multi-million-dollar investment into Bitcoin ETFs. So, and it says, well, at small steps in the beginning, more and more institutions gather. And more institutions are gathering Bitcoin. So much of the background research, and this is a weird article, much of the background research and points come out of a conversation with two sources who have vast experience with pension fund adoptions. Cartwright, and again, they're advising UK-based pension funds to allocate 3% towards Bitcoin. And Proof of Workforce, which has helped various unions save holdings in Bitcoin. So pension funds aren't just a new player, they're a different type of player, because most of these pension funds are buying and holding. The article here points out, this is Bitcoin. This isn't crypto. And it might be important to check yourself and remember that. They are saying pension funds, lasting time horizons are essential. They can't just pull their funds out willy-nilly. They need to be invested into something for at least 10 years, sometimes longer. So when you see pension funds buying Bitcoin, I believe, based on what I'm reading here, is that you can believe that's a locked-in purchase for a minimum of 1 decade. That is essentially illiquid Bitcoin for the foreseeable future. By the time that Bitcoin unlocks, or is maybe possibly considered to be sold, the returns on it, the value per coin, is going to be over 7 figures. So it's not just pension funds, sovereign wealth funds, governments, private entities. I personally know a buddy of mine. If he's watching this, hey, my friend. But I know he's a business owner, and his tattoo shop has recently put Bitcoin on the books. So mom and pop shops, you never know what market they're in, but they're buying Bitcoin too, and they're not telling you about it. So when you evaluate properly, Bitcoin stands above all the other assets. And there is a risk-reward profile out there for it, but the trick is to get pension trustees to look beyond that polarizing debate. Now, this is what Cartwright is pointing out. And simply counsel to evaluate Bitcoin on its merits and the numbers. if you already believe in the staying power of Bitcoin, then once you take a look at the numbers, Bitcoin stands out as the best performing financial asset of the past decade. Once you anchor to the math and escape that narrative, Bitcoin paradoxically looks better to institutional players like pension funds. Now, I believe it was Michael Saylor that spoke about how, Bitcoin is raw energy captured in value, but it's also the purest form of asset ownership because the carrying costs on this asset are nothing. He says that, when you have a home, it costs money to maintain that home. If you live in that home, there's wear and tear on it. You've got your essential utilities, you have your property tax. All this is factored into the cost of maintaining that asset. But when you buy into, Bitcoin and cryptocurrency and you own that, your financial outlay, your capital outlay comes out once. And that's it. You buy a hardware wallet and then you store it somewhere, or you store your seed phrase somewhere creative, and you don't even have your wallet. So there's plenty of options here to understand that month to month, your carrying cost on a cryptocurrency is $0. However, on any other asset on the planet, that's not true. So number 3, a small allocation of dipping toes into the pool. We're going to summarize this briefly and say that 95% of wealth in the world today has not touched cryptocurrency. And then I think there's a corresponding fact that says like 95% of the cryptocurrency out there is consolidated into whale hands or high value hands. But that's essentially what we're reading here. Now, Cartwright's saying allocate low. 1 to 3%, start your allocations low. Don't worry about the short-term volatility and look towards the long-term horizons. This goes on. If you've been in the space for any length of time, you understand this. If you were here in 2017, you got it. It's no longer, should I buy Bitcoin at 1,700 or should I buy Bitcoin at 2,300? Because, now, you look at that now, it doesn't matter. So if you're buying Bitcoin at 95,000 versus Bitcoin at 110,000 in 6 to 7 years, you're going to look back and you're probably going to say the same thing. Now, the values are bigger, but just like when you walk into a casino and you put your money into tokens, you need to look at that as tokens and units of your financial bankroll rather than money. Because if you look at it as money, your emotions are coming into it. But if you look at it as units, then it's easier to remain impartial. Number 4, the store of value is winning out, but the medium of exchange is being explored. While most pensions are interested in Bitcoin as the store of value, echoing what's happening in cities and states around the world that want to hold Bitcoin as their reserves, and let me tell you, there are a lot. Small steps are being taken to explore Bitcoin's use as a medium of exchange, for example, such as payroll. The store of value is the more obvious case to push forward here. They're saying it's clear that there's room for pension funds to experiment beyond holding things on their balance sheets. However, this analyst disagrees. Yes, you can transact in Bitcoin. However, at this time, with the amount of institutional adoption, with the amount of high-value individuals holding large amounts of this is becoming an asset class more than anything. And with the supply shock and the supply and demand dynamics that come out here, we're going to see a whole lot of price go up. So you can experiment all you want. I remember a few years ago, we had some sports stars and some high-value celebrities. I think the mayor of Miami might get some Bitcoin paid out to him. But, again, we're going to see experiments like this. But, again, I think it remains firmly into the asset category. So, number 5, we've got pension funds and unions of all kinds are joining the fund. This is quite an article, but it's proving our point here. We've got everybody Bitcoin's for everybody. And look at this: firefighting unions, uh, blue collar worker pension funds. I mean, and they're even saying despite their structural differences, unions and pension funds share a core ethos, advocating for their workers, present and future. Both should approach Bitcoin similarly, minimizing risk while learning about a tool born from a financial crisis that's devastated workers. Good heavens. I'm not going to carry on with this, but this is a step in the right direction. We've got people on all levels, all spectrums, all walks of life. They're buying a finite asset class. And the more people that are doing it, the more people are going to benefit. But the quicker you do it, the more you're going to benefit as well. And leading right into that, we've got an article from a few days ago saying that the Bitcoin Reserve blueprint coming in short order from the White House. Because, it's the White House. Bo Hines, executive director of the White House, President's Council of Advisors on Digital Assets, reveals that the Trump admin will unveil the architecture of its strategic Bitcoin reserve in short order, adding fresh detail to a policy that has so far existed largely as a one-page executive order and a handful of high-level talking points. So, he says, speaking in a fireside chat with analyst Scott Melker, Hines said the reserve is already circulating among interagency working groups and will be working groups set up under President Trump's first digital assets executive order signed on the president's third day in office. When we're ready to announce that, which I'm sure will be in short order, I think that this community will be extremely pleased. So what I'm gathering is that they're sending this memo that we don't get to see yet amongst the interagencies, or amongst the agencies, and so they can all get their sort of ducks in a row. I assume this is their plan, a little bit of behind-the-scenes actions in order to get the framework, when it comes out publicly, that everyone's able to support it equally. And I do support this. I mean, you can't leak things too soon. So, he did decline to specify a launch date. Hines indicated that the reserve design will surface before the 180-day deadline, and that is due July 22nd? Yeah, July 22nd. It's expected to consolidate recommendations from the Treasury, Commerce Department, Justice Department, SEC, and the CFTC. Now, this makes sense to me as well because we had the SEC roundtables, and since these other agencies have been working on things in addition to these public roundtables, it makes sense that if they're all working off the same private memo, that they're all going to be able to come out in lockstep with this framework in mind. So I like what they're saying. They're being pretty upfront here. We're at the stage now where the heavy demolition of bad rules is 80 to 90% complete. Hines said, referring to what he calls the administration's three-phase strategy: demolition of blue tape, overregulation, construction of statutory clarity, and implementation across traditional finance. Those are pretty clear, bold, and broad strokes. I like it. Hines insisted that the reserve will not rely on direct appropriations. We want as much Bitcoin as we can possibly get, he reiterated. But we have to do this in budget-neutral ways that don't cost the taxpayer a dime. So, paragraph. I don't want to read it again, but I'll read the quote again. We want as much Bitcoin as we can possibly get. This is a quote from a high-level White House executive in the Trump administration. In the United States, it's the year 2025, and the United States is being proactive. They're being a leader in cryptocurrency. Trump had a mandate about being a crypto president, and he is shoving in order to make this happen. So, I don't know how much Bitcoin they're going to get. They say they want 1 million Bitcoin. However, there's not going to be 1 million available to them over the next 5 years, which is, again, their unofficial, official acquisition plan. Options under consideration for these budget-neutral methods include tapping federally chartered miners, issuing bit bonds, and allowing agencies to receive certain fees in Bitcoin. There can be hundreds, if not thousands, of ways we can do this, Hines added, cautioning that prematurely disclosing a preferred mechanism would poison the well for congressional negotiations. Valid point. Sometimes when you're playing cards, you can't show them what you got. You gotta wait until you see what's happening. Treasury and Commerce have already been instructed to produce menus of creative financing structures, he said, and will play a lead role once the executive branch blueprint is published. So, as a relatively right-brained person, I have to say that reading creative financing structures, I'm a big fan. I wish that I was inside this administration at this time. I'm not even an American citizen, and I want to get in there so I can just have my say and help. I may just reading this, I'm getting enthused. So we'll see. Maybe I'll reach out to the country that I live in and see what's available here. Codifying the reserve in law remains the administration's stated goal, but Hines suggested the White House has bought itself a little time by anchoring policy in the executive order, and I'd agree with that as well. It's smart. The legislative priority stack remains stablecoins rules first, which are coming out very soon, if not today or tomorrow. Broad market structure method, actually, come to think of it, I think something came out yesterday. And reserve authorization third. Providing the clear regulatory framework more generally gives us the momentum we need to enshrine the strategic Bitcoin reserve into law, he argued. So progress on the framework, Hines said, has been faster than many anticipated Progress on that framework, Hines said, has been faster than many on Capitol Hill anticipated. The Bipartisan Genius Act cleared a cloture vote with 69 Senate supporters last week and is expected to reach the president's desk next week. So the stablecoin issuers will hold one-to-one reserves in treasuries and undergo audits. Provisions Hines claims will pour trillions and trillions of dollars into the economy. And I agree, if these out-of-the-box creative ideas are continuing to roll out, if they're going to start accepting fees into it, if paying in cryptocurrency is going to become a commonplace, then this is a no-brainer. Now, when we look at the availability of Bitcoin, we know that it's drying up. So we need to look at what comes next. Is stablecoins what we're going to be looking at after Bitcoin dries up? I don't think so. I think stablecoins will probably be what we're going to transact in our day-to-day lives. But when it comes to other assets that fluctuate, I think we need to have a good long look at what comes next. And I mean, on that note, it kind of leads us right into our next article. We've got Shopify adopting stablecoins. And it's not Ethereum. Ethereum is probably what we're going to talk about in the next video or so. But here we've got an example of an absolute behemoth in the economic space accepting stablecoins. Not just any stablecoins. These are USDC coins. They're on the Base network. They're on the Ethereum network. Coinbase is heavily involved with this, so is Circle. These are North American companies working together with the intention of pointing towards a widespread adoption of cryptocurrencies. I didn't think we'd get here so quickly. We just ratified in the United States stablecoins with the cloture vote. I still don't know how to say that. So merchants can receive USDC without conversion or exchange fees with seamless integration through Stripe and Coinbase. Now, I'm also pretty aware of, I think there's an ICO running as well that's going to be app-based that'll allow businesses to sort of just tap into their existing payment methods. If you have crypto, you'll be able to tap onto their payment system and it instantly instantly swaps it into a stable coin for you. So, I mean, if we're going to have this level of stablecoin adoption this quickly, my head's spinning a little bit. Cashback is going to get involved, cashback is going to be a perk, and an e-commerce tailored protocol shows a desire to embed crypto into everyday use. So I do have a prepaid crypto credit card, and I do earn, it depends on how much I earn, but on average, like on any given day, the normal cashback on that is 1% in Bitcoin. And I feel very fortunate to be able to earn that. But in order to be able to earn cash back on every kind of purchase that is crypto based, I think is pretty phenomenal. So I could go into, Walmart. I could go into any store that I can pay with debit or credit, and I could be earning crypto cash back, not just on my specialized crypto credit card. These are big steps. I focus on this one article because Shopify is not my buddy's tattoo shop. No disrespect to my buddy. I mean, he's got a rockin' shop. But what I'm saying here is that we've got two businesses on drastically different levels. And they're both doing the same thing. They're getting involved with crypto. Now, what I see here is that we've got a large company taking the stablecoin so that they've got it a step removed from crypto so that they can choose when they want to swap into crypto. They don't have to pay a fee to get to the stablecoin. They're allowing their retail clients pay those fees. This is an absolutely amazing play. If I owned a business that accepted currency, I mean, I don't, but what I would do is this. If I didn't accept crypto directly, I would accept stable coins that would allow me the opportunity to buy the crypto when and if I see fit. And if I need, fiat currency to live, or if I can't make a payment with this stable coin to anything that I need to normally pay with my fiat currency, then I can just again swap into fiat and pay what I need to deal with. But it looks like increasingly that we're going to go in this direction. Now, it's worth noting that China has a digital dollar that they're moving towards as well. And they used to, I'm not sure if they're still doing it, but they used to hand out lotteries worth of this stuff. And it used to be received with giant amounts of trepidation. But I can only assume that over time, that has changed. So, in short, sellers can now accept USDC payments directly from the blockchain without worrying about currency conversion or international. Let's see, look, this is exactly what we were talking about. Payments can be processed via Shop Pay or as a guest, simplifying the customer experience. So there's no new gateway to configure, no opaque intermediary. This is beautiful. All powered by Basis Coinbase Ethereum Layer 2 solution designed for low-cost, high-performance transactions. I'm not going to read you every little bit of this article, but I will say this is fantastic. The crypto adoption here is incredible. As a person who did attempt a few years ago an app-based startup that tried to do something similar, I understand more than most the complexities that it would take to pull this off. So kudos to those at the tip of this spear. And I'm going to use that term a lot. The tip of the spear is where we're at, folks, because if you can, I don't want to say ride that tip of the spear, but if you can live at the edge of the financial innovation that we're experiencing right now, there's lots and lots of room for you to make money. There's lots of room to lose money. But if you're using your head and you're doing your research, then the crypto space is the new Wild West of adventure and, I dare I say, bountiful treasure. I don't know. Maybe I'm selling it a bit too much there. So, we have pension funds. We have the government. And we have private sectors all involving themselves with cryptocurrency. And to me, that's just crazy for all of this to come together so quickly. I mean, we've had the American administration in the office for 6 months, and I just can't wait to see what the next 6 months, year, 2 years, 4, 5, I hate to, 10, 15, I'm kidding. You see what I'm saying here. Over time, I'm a big fan of where this space is headed. I'm not a big fan of getting interrupted in my videos. Today's video has been brought to you by your friendly neighborhood double daddy and the fine folks over at tokenpathways.com. Don't forget to visit us there, or wherever you're viewing this. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and then go forward and be your best self. Thank you so much for watching. Have a great day.